Hi, this is Bishop Craig in Lansing, and this is take one for the week of January 26. Peace be with you. We get two popular for some beloved readings on Sunday. The first reading is Micah 6, do justice, love kindness, walk humbly with God. And the gospel reading is Matthew 5, it is the Beatitudes. And I am remembering last time these readings came up in the lectionary 3 years ago, we had just elected a president, and I got phone calls of complaints from people, often from the same parish. On the one hand, some people thought that the pastor had selected these readings to embarrass President Trump. On the other hand, people thought that these readings had been assigned in the Revised Common Lectionary, which they had, and the pastor had not done enough to preach in a way that embarrassed President Trump. And like I say, usually in the same congregation, people on both sides. So just a couple of things on preaching what I guess is social justice. First, our job is to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ, not to embarrass President Trump. So if we're deliberately setting out to either embarrass President Trump or not to embarrass President Trump, we are missing the goal of preaching. So it's not about Trump. Sorry. The second thing I would say is that, yes, indeed, we are to advocate for the things for which Jesus would have us advocate. And Jesus has concern for the poor and the oppressed, sinners, outcasts, the sick, people possessed by demons, people that have been told they're unloved and uncared about. If you need to find that, go read the Gospels and understand that for Jesus, the political and the spiritual world are not separable. That while we Americans may have a notion of the separation of church and state, that is really about church not being influenced by state. It is not about the church not being permitted to comment on society. So that's the second thing I would say. Third thing I want to say, and there I think the third part of Micah 6, walk humbly with God, can be very helpful. Because walking humbly with our God puts us alongside of Jesus, who not only advocated for the poor and the oppressed and the sick and the disabled, he also died for them and for us. So I think it's important to realize that not only are we to advocate for the things that that Jesus would have us advocate for, we are to advocate in the way that Jesus would advocate. We are to advocate for Christ. By that I mean on Christ's behalf. We are to advocate in persona Christi. So whether you're preaching this Sunday or listening to sermons this Sunday, or you're advocating for social justice, the question is not about President Trump. It's about Jesus, and whether the sermon is proclaiming Christ in a way that is true to who Jesus is. So there's my sermon commentary for the week. I will not be preaching this week because I will be traveling to Southern Seminary in Columbia, South Carolina. Quick trip, Thursday night go, back Saturday night, I think. And on Friday, spend the day lecturing on stewardship. I'm always glad to use my teaching gifts and call to serve the greater church. And I'm also glad to go to other parts of the church and see how they do things. And it's interesting, I usually meet a pastor or two along the way, some of whom have come to Michigan. So there you go. Pastor Sprang is preaching at Christ United in DeWitt. And Pastor Anderson, I believe, is preaching at All Saints in Mason. So both my assistants will be near home on Sunday morning, and I should decide whether I want to go hear them preach or sneak into my own church at University East Lansing. We'll see. On Tuesday, we have Global Mission, so we'll be in Mount Pleasant, Pastor David and I. Wednesday is staff meeting. I've gotten a couple of questions on the preaching retreat that I am having in March. So let me just say that it is not a lectionary based retreat. Somebody said I'd really want to come to that, but I don't preach on the Revised Common Lectionary. It's not a lectionary based retreat. It is really about the craft of preaching. It's an opportunity for pastors, preachers to think about their craft of preaching. No one will be called upon to do anything. So you'll receive information and you'll think about it, but no one's going to be put on the spot to preach. And yes, this is open to pastors and to deacons and anybody who preaches, lay preachers of any form or whatever. So there's information, I think, in the newsletter in the Take One. Have a look. So I think that's what I have for this week of January 26th as we move from Jesus calling disciples into teaching with authority is, I think, what Matthew would have us know. He's one who teaches with authority. So enjoy listening to the word of Jesus. Peace be with you.